Hello there. Welcome back to Harley on the Headlines. Harley Carnes podcast, of course. Mighty glad you are there and that you're willing to help us reach out more people. Like, subscribing, follow, send some emails, that sort of thing. Hey, it's Christmas. I sure hope yours is merry. And if it's not all that much, I hope it's a good time for reflection and gratitude. Even if you're not into giving gifts or anxious to get some in this holiday, please remember why gifting is a part of it. It started with the gift of God's Son to all of humanity. That's a pretty big deal. Still is. So we give something nice to someone we care about or even to strangers who need a helping hand. Now, I'm not a preacher. I'm just saying it's what it's all about. The fact that we have turned it into the biggest, most commercialized spending frenzy ever is interesting because that's both sad and glad. Sad because doing that tends to diminish the meaning of the season in the minds of the weak and the spiritually sleepy. Glad because it means an opportunity for financial success for countless merchants and their families who depend on our holiday generosity each year. That's not a bad thing. And it's pretty cool that we put a little more money into Bing Crosby's estate by playing White Christmas so many times each year, this time of year. Same goes for Nat King Cole and so many others. Mariah Carey goes to the bank every year on All I Want for Christmas Is You, even though controversy hangs like a cloud over it still. Songwriter Vince Vance claiming she stole it. In fact, a song by the same name with essentially the same tune and words actually made it pretty far up the Billboard charts and sold records for Vince Vance and the Valiants, sung beautifully by Lisa Lane a few years before Mariah Carey claims she wrote it. It's on YouTube from 1993, published several years even before that. Mariah is being sued in a couple of directions, or was being sued, by Vance, who may have written it first as Andy Stone, that's his real name, along with co-writer Troy Powers, and recorded it with the band featuring Lisa Lane long before Mariah. And Mariah is being sued by another guy who claims he co-wrote it with her months before she claimed to have done it. In any event, years after Vince Vance wrote and published his version of the song, in fact, as Wikipedia writes about it, initially released as a single in 1989, Vince Vance's version of the song has charted several times on the Billboard Country Singles chart. That lawsuit was dropped without prejudice in March of this year after one judge said there isn't enough proof. Without prejudice, by the way, means the lawsuit can be revived at any time in the future. Now, I am a Mariah Carey fan. She's one of the great talents of the last half century. I love her voice, with a voice that rivals Whitney Houston. I mean, just great. Both songs are really great Christmas season songs. Lisa Lane's version is a little more soulful, full of heart, not better, just subtly different, and also great. Look them up. They're both on YouTube. You'll enjoy doing it. You know, I don't much like politics. By that ought to be pretty clear. Even though it is unavoidable in our lives, it's sort of like a slow hemlock drip in our cultural teacups. I definitely like to avoid that beverage at Christmas time. So I've been looking around for a couple of stories from wherever that are related to Christmas. 2 years after the chaos of Gaza, thousands of people flocked to Bethlehem's manger square, where it is said that Jesus was born. Imagine that, really. A more humble beginning is difficult to imagine. A young mother forced to sleep in the stable with horses and sheep and whatever else was back there. Probably more crowded and smelly than the displays we see this time of year. Keep in mind, this was actually at harvest time when people could bring in their taxes to pay Rome. That's why the inn was full. And in those days, it would have been full of people who brought sheep and oxen and donkeys and such with them. And they would have been crowded into the stable where Joseph and Mary had taken refuge, and where the cries of childbirth mixed with the bleats of the other lambs. After 2 years canceled, the celebration of Christ's birth was allowed again this year at Manger Square in Bethlehem. Bethlehem these days is about 80% Muslim. Cookies are part of Christmas. We leave some near the tree for Santa. Got to figure he's all cookied out once he's done speeding all over the world like a hyper-speed postman. The number one cookie, hard to say. Sugar cookies are always near the top, but Google Trends says this year cookies with peanut butter are surging. They cost more, too. Thanks to inflation in the past 5 years, the price of ingredients for a basic batch of sugar cookies is up 31% since 2020. That's flour, sugar, baking powder, butter, and a bit of vanilla, plus milk for Santa and some carrots for the reindeer. Come on, you forgot the carrots this year. Don't do that again. There is a Christmas shop in Belgium like no other. You can buy all kinds of stuff. Toy cars, angels, snowmen, figurines of all sort. A wooden laser-cut model of the Cathedral of Antwerp. I mean, it's all there. But the prize display in Crystal Dawes' shop is 18,000 Christmas tree ornaments. They're for sale. They're just part of her own personal collection. The total is 64,000 ornaments in her collection, give or take. Her dream is to have a Christmas-themed museum, but until then, you'll have to walk very carefully as you shop with thousands of ornaments hanging all throughout the little building. Enchanting, no doubt. Scrooge lives for sure. At Tyndall Air Force Base, a private housing contractor told the families there to take down their Christmas decorations. You may have heard about this. It happened in November, actually, when some military families put up their Christmas decorations in time for, well, Thanksgiving. The HOA, not the Air Force, by the way, told them they were jumping the gun, no Christmas until December. I'm not sure how I feel about telling military families who have a special place in my mind and heart when they can and can't begin to celebrate Christmas, because at the same time, when I see commercialization of the holiday beginning all around Halloween, I do react poorly inside. So I am kind of torn about that story. One of the favorite stories each year is about this or that secret Santa. Here's just one of them. This is someone who's wealthy enough to give away money or gifts, but deep enough emotionally to want to do it anonymously. In Idaho, one secret Santa showed up a couple of months early and gave a family with conjoined twins, Siamese twins, a new minivan. Callie and Carter Torres are joined at the torsos, facing each other forever. And they spend a lot of time at a hospital in Salt Lake City, 3 hours drive from Blackfoot, Idaho, where they live. So Secret Santa showed up and gave the family a minivan to make the drive easier. That particular Santa has given away millions of dollars. Don't know who it is. Wouldn't tell if I did. The British research station at Rothera on Antarctica can be a lonely, lonely, lonely place this time of year. Bottom of the world, literally, and seriously cold. That station now has an official postal box. Never had one before. And it's a gift from King Charles himself. Kirsten Shaw runs the British Antarctic Territory Post Office. She says if you're doing field work for many months, the feeling of receiving a letter, an actual tangible piece of paper with handwriting from friends and family is such a lift, a wonderful way to connect people that goes beyond what an email or text message can do. Now, I'm not saying that they didn't get mail before. Of course they did. But this is their first big red mailbox, standing there about waist high. Thank you, King. That was a cool dude. Cool move on your part. And you got to love the little story of 9-year-old Oscar Wilkins, who was part of his elementary school Christmas play. He was assigned the part of Elvis the Elf in the production, told to go home, get his mom to help come up with a costume. Now, he didn't get the elf part straight. But he did hear Elvis. So he showed up for the show dressed like Elvis for the stage at about, 1969. White suit, spangles, sequins, the cape. the whole deal. To their credit, the teacher thought it was darling and went with it. So did the audience. 12 elves in the play, and one dressed like Elvis. And Oscar was a star. Everyone fell in love with Elvis all over again. Okay, enough. You could do Christmas stories all day, and you'd come away feeling pretty good. So that's it for today's Harley on the Headlines. Please help us spread the word. I want to thank you. This time of year, it's easy to do anyway, but I thank you for watching on YouTube, for listening on Spotify and elsewhere. Really helps. Liking, following, subscribing, sharing. Send an episode or an email to your friends and followers, especially during this season. Have a very Merry Christmas all holiday long. Lasts all weekend this time. I'm Harley Carnes, and really do thank you.